All right, I want to talk about these two stand-up paddle boards that I bought off Amazon versus the two that I bought from REI, and how I made my decision and what I learned. And then I'm just going to do kind of a side-by-side comparison. I already returned the ones from REI, but I already did a review on that. You can see on my channel if you like. And I'm just going to walk you through the differences, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I learned from almost 20 years at Volkswagen in manufacturing, quality assurance, and engineering. Okay, so first, the story. Fast forward if you're not interested in this, but maybe it's interesting. So, my grandmother died and left my mother some money, who gave some of it to me and encouraged me to just kind of have fun with it, not pay the electric bill or whatever. And so I got this money, and the summer season last year was coming, it was kind of mid season. And we drove to REI and we bought two stand up paddle boards by the company BOTE. I think they're called the Woof. You can see in my other review. And we walked out having done very little research, and we spent $1,090. Now, normally I do a lot of research before I buy stuff, but that was kind of the fun aspect of just spending the money without hemming and hawing over everything. And I don't ever try and abuse REI's policy, but they have the 100% satisfaction guaranteed policy. And one of the things that that does is that encourages you to just try something out without being totally sure that you want it. So we bought these stand-up pedal boards. We used them probably 10 times in 2023 and had a lot of fun with them. But we also saw their limitations because my kids are more into whitewatery type stuff. And we were right on the edge of what those paddle boards could do. And I found some quality issues with the stand-up pedal boards. And I just developed this sense that they really weren't worth, $1,100, $550 each. Now, I don't like buying knockoffs. I don't like it when a company like Knipex designs and invents and engineers a really quality, unique item, and then people just go and copy it. Now, so that's one thing. And I don't really know who started the stand-up paddleboard thing, but what I saw, especially after buying these cheap ones off Amazon, is that it looks like all these paddleboards are coming out of the same factory. And what BOTE has done is they just really capitalized on the marketing. They got the color scheme and they got into REI, and I can't tell any discernible differences in like design. And so to me, this doesn't feel like a company that ripped off the person who came out with it first. It feels like competitors. Now, I may be wrong about that, and you may disagree with me on that entirely. That's fine, but I'm just telling you kind of that's where I'm at. So I took the paddle boards back a couple months ago. They weren't that happy with me at REI. They kind of acted like, what's wrong with them, and but it's part of their policy. So they gave me my money back, and I'm grateful for REI. I've bought a lot of new things from them, and I've probably returned 10% of them, so I have a clear conscience. Anyway, I kind of stalked Amazon. I stalked Facebook Marketplace for a long time and didn't find any really good deals. And then I started watching Amazon, and as it turns out, there's just so many sort of ghost brands where they're basically just going to the factory where these things are made, they're slapping their name on it and moving on with life. And so I got these two for $265. They were $100, and then plus shipping, which was a little bit high, but it's a big, heavy item. And yeah, and so I've used them now, and I've not used them much, but I've used them, and so I can at least give you some initial assessment on quality and comparison. So basically, the question is, these cost $265. I had paid almost $1,100. That's 4.1 times the cost. So basically, if this were 1/4 the paddleboard that other one was, it would be an equal value. Or if that other one was 4 times as good, this would be an equal value. So now let me take you in and show you kind of what we have. So the paddle boards, as you can see, they're 10 footers, adult style paddle boards. Ironically, they were just two different color schemes from the same Amazon ad, but they actually are a little bit different, which doesn't really bother me at all. Okay, so first thing I want to say is that these two and the BOTE paddle boards basically have pretty much all the same features. Okay, they have almost the exact same valve. They have this front area to put stuff down. They have the nice foam padding. They have the handles. They have the D-rings. This one also has a big D-ring in the back, just like the other one. Now this one has the vent or the valve in the back. This one has the valve in the front. What's interesting about this lower one, this is a feature that was not on the boat, is it has a mount for GoPro. It even has a brass insert, which is a small sign of quality. A lot of times they'll cheap out and just use plastic there. So yeah, they basically have all of the features of the BOTE. BOTE, by the way, if you're not familiar, it's a brand of paddle boards. They have all the same features, and this one even has an extra feature. And then underneath, they have the slot that accepts the shark fin. This one only has a hole for the shark fin, whereas this one has two small fins and then the slot for the big shark fin. Okay, yeah, they come with two backpacks with, yeah, basically cheap zippers, cheap padding, which is basically what you got on the BOTE. The BOTE one was nicer, fancier colors, but they were not YKK zippers. They were fairly cheap. A lot of these buckles on the BOTE were also really cheap, just like these. I do some of my own sewing for backpacking, and so I know a little bit about brand name buckles and zippers and all those kinds of things. And the color scheme is boring, but they work just fine. They both came with these straps to wrap the paddleboard up. Ironically, they're different sizes, which is kind of funny to me because they came from the same Amazon app. The red and black one, came with a standard air pump that is not a dual chamber. It's just in and out, that's it, with a gauge on top. But the blue one came with a dual chamber. So basically, if you remove this, you get high capacity. Excuse me. If you if you remove this, you get high capacity, and if you keep it in, you get high pressure. And so basically, you use it the one way when you're filling it up real quickly, and then as you get to the end, you swap it. And that's a really nice feature. I had that on the BOTE as well, and I think that's great. But everything else is really the same. I mean, it's the same cheap plastic construction. You know, I'm not testing the plastic quality, but I used to work with a couple of polymer engineers at Volkswagen, and so I do know a little bit about, you know, PA6 and glass fiber reinforced nylon and things like that. Yeah, so then you have the shark fins themselves. They felt a little beefier on the BOTE, that I must say. But not, I mean, it's still the same basically size and geometry. What was interesting is on the BOTE, on both of them, this is the lock that keeps this thing from moving around. On both of the boats that I had purchased, this knot was so poorly tied that this thing immediately came off on both. Now, it was no big deal. I caught it and retied it, but if you lost that out on a river, that would be a bummer. And it's just kind of your first impressions as a customer about the quality, that like they didn't even choose a proper sized hole and a proper sized knot. This one is actually better. Not that it's a big deal, of course you can fix it, but again, initial quality out of the factory. This one is also better. Again, both of these came off on the BOTE and on the two kayaks I got from REI. These are the leashes. The BOTE ones I think were a little bit better. They had a thing here that allowed like a 360-degree pivot so that it wouldn't get all wound up. But I don't really use the leashes much anyway, so this is pretty unimportant to me. And if I did use it, then this would still be fine enough for me. You get these two little orange first aid kits basically for your paddleboard to fix it. And this is exactly what came with the BOTE. It was orange. It said repair kit on it. It was cheap plastic like this. Again, kind of coming out of the same factories. Then you have the hoses that go between the pump and the paddleboard. These are pretty much the same. Pretty much the same style as the BOTE with this twist and lock, and I can't really perceive any major quality difference between these two. The paddles, there's no graphics on these paddles like on the BOTE. Other than that, they're pretty similar. One area that is better on the BOTE paddle is right here. So this is basically there so you can break it up into smaller pieces to put in the backpack, and there is a little bit of movement. There's a little bit of slop in here. And on the BOTE paddle, it had something like a cam lock here, down here, and it got rid of that movement. So that's an improvement of the BOTE compared to these. But you could fix this by you know, shimming this somehow or something like that. I will say the BOTE paddle, I actually bent it. So I'm 6 foot tall, 160 pounds, not super strong, but I was paddling really hard, not incorrectly, just hard. And I actually bent the boat paddle a little bit. So yeah, it doesn't click and clack here, but I bent it. Up here, you have this cam lock, which is basically exactly what you had on the boat. In both cases, when I bought these paddle boards and the boat, when you close this, it wasn't stiff yet. That's because you had to twist this several times to the right and take out the play. So that's, again, a small quality deficiency, I think, from the factory, that it's not ready to go. And you may laugh at that, but I recently bought a mountain bike, and the woman gave me a mount for a bag, and basically she said it won't tighten, and that was the exact issue. Is she didn't realize that this had to be turned several times and then clamped. And so there are people who wouldn't know that. The grip up here is has a little more texture. It's not particularly nice. It wiggles a little bit, but it did on the boat as well. So the boat, the knit line from when they did the injection molding was kind of sharp. I had to sand it down. So yeah, I would say the boat paddle is 5% better. But these paddles, these are recreational paddles. Like, if you're getting into serious stuff, then you're not buying any of these anyway. So yeah, to the paddle boards themselves, I'm not going to cut them apart and measure the thickness or anything like that. But like I said, I have taken them out. This one's not blown up all the way. I just blew it up real quick for demonstration purposes. This one is all the way blown up. But I've been out with them. They work fine. They work great. One area where I look for quality, you can see, like, this is a little bit offset. So that's not super conscientious of them. The other thing that I was really disappointed about on the boat, which I showed in my video, is some of these details here. So as the foam came together in the pattern, there was some issues. And specifically on the boat, the way that this was like basically the exact same pattern, and they had made some really sloppy cuts around the valve that just looked really cheap and chintzy. And the cuts here are actually pretty good, like around the D-rings. They really did a good job. And this will get scuffed. I mean, ours got scuffed on the boat. I think that's just from loading and transportation. That's no criticism. But yeah, so the boats that the BOTE brand paddle boards that we had bought were considered entry level. Okay, so we're not like, this video is not for like the seasoned hardcore paddler. This is for someone who wants to buy a paddleboard for the very first time. And if you go to REI, they're going to say, this is our entry level board for $550. And my point is, it really just isn't worth it. BOTE does not seem to have anything proprietary or special or unique. And again, I'm not a fan of people ripping off other companies when they have like real intellectual property, but it doesn't seem to me that they have that. Now, just to give you a sense, I have here a Perception Drift 9.5 sit inside kayak. I have here a Dagger Torrent whitewater kayak. I have some Adventure Technology paddles. I mean, this is like a $450 paddle, all fiberglass, that I bought for $100 when I bought the Torrent. So just to give you an idea, it's not like I only have used cheap crap from Amazon. I've also used really good stuff. And so just to add, let's say, to my review competency, if you're wondering, well, what does this guy really know? That's kind of my exposure. I had those boat paddle boards. I've had some really good kayaks. I have an aluminum canoe, and I have these relatively cheap paddle boards. But right now it's February. There's not a lot of paddleboarding going on, and so things are cheap. And people seem to really want a lot of money for their used paddle boards. They don't seem to go super cheap, so that's why I decided to go new. But yeah, I just thought I would throw this out there. One of the things that I find about reviews is that you can get review information from a pro. Okay, the problem is that pro normally works for a company. That's what makes him a pro, and then he has a certain type of bias. That's what makes guys like Project Farm really awesome on YouTube and AVE really awesome, is that they are really intelligent, thorough guys, but they're not working for anybody. And so, there's no links below this video to buy one of these things. This stuff I bought myself, and I'm not getting any money out of this aside from you watching the ad at the beginning of this video. So I have no bias. And on the one hand, I'm just a totally normal 35-year-old homeowner, but I spent a long time working in engineering and quality assurance and manufacturing, and so I have an eye for those things. And so maybe this review is helpful to you. And at least I hope what you can sense is that I have no bias. I have no dog in the fight. It's just my opinion. And this is the kind of video that I would have liked to have seen before I made a purchase. And that's kind of been my motivation for videos, is make the kind of video you wish you had found before you made a purchase. All right, that's all, folks. If you didn't like this video, that's fine. Give it a thumbs down so I know. And he doesn't exactly do paddle boards, but go check out the channel Project Farm. He reviews all sorts of things, not biased at all, very thorough testing, and is not in any corporation's pocket. Or check out AVE, also not really paddleboard stuff, but really smart guy, and does some very well thought out reviews. And if you didn't like this, I hope you like them. All right, take care.